Today we turn our attention to Iran, where a powerful wave of nationwide protests has erupted since late December 2025. What began as economic frustration has now evolved into one of the most serious challenges the Islamic Republic has faced in decades. These demonstrations are not isolated incidents. They represent a deep and widespread rejection of economic mismanagement, political repression, and a system that many Iranians believe no longer represents them. The immediate trigger was the dramatic collapse of Iran's currency. In just 1 year, the rial lost nearly half of its value, devastating livelihoods and shattering public confidence. Merchants in Tehran's historic Central Bazaar, long considered a backbone of regime support, shut their shops in protest. Their actions quickly resonated with students, workers, professionals, and ordinary citizens across all 31 provinces of the country. What we are witnessing is not the anger of one class or one city, but a national uprising driven by shared despair and shared hope for change. The government's response has been swift and severe. After brief conciliatory statements, authorities imposed a harsh crackdown under the cover of an information blackout. Internet and phone services were restricted, communication channels were jammed, and even satellite-based connections were targeted. Thousands have been arrested, and thousands more have reportedly been killed, including protesters and members of the security forces. This level of repression is unprecedented in scale and has shocked the international community. Unlike earlier protest movements in Iran, this unrest presents the regime with far fewer options. In the past, authorities combined force with limited policy concessions to restore control. Today, Iran's economy is deeply weakened, state finances are strained, and symbolic measures such as small cash payments to citizens only highlight the government's lack of resources. More importantly, many protesters are no longer calling for reform, but for the complete end of supreme leader rule and the Islamic Republic itself. Iran's regional and strategic position further compounds the crisis. Years of military setbacks, the weakening or collapse of regional allies, and direct confrontations with Israel and the United States have left Iran more vulnerable than at any time since 1979. In this context, both protesters and government officials may view the current unrest as an existential threat rather than a temporary disturbance. The role of the United States has added another complex dimension. President Donald Trump's public statements expressing readiness to rescue Iranian protesters go beyond traditional diplomatic rhetoric. Such declarations may embolden demonstrators, unsettle security forces, or harden the resolve of Iranian leaders who frame the protests as foreign-backed conspiracies. While some argue that U.S. military action could shift the balance in favor of protesters, others warn that external intervention could backfire, strengthening nationalist sentiment and prolonging repression. At present, there is little evidence of widespread defections within Iran's military or political elite. This reality limits the prospects of rapid regime change and raises serious questions about the effectiveness and risks of outside intervention. Iran's security apparatus remains powerful, ideologically committed, and economically invested in the survival of the current system. For the United States and for Congress, the choices ahead are consequential. Options range from negotiations and diplomacy, to economic pressure through sanctions and tariffs, to the consideration of military force. Each path carries significant risks, not only for Iran but for regional stability, global energy markets, and international norms governing the use of force. Ultimately, the protests in Iran are a reminder that this is not merely a geopolitical contest. It is a human story. Millions of Iranians are demanding dignity, opportunity, and a voice in shaping their future. The challenge for the international community is to respond in a way that supports these aspirations without unleashing greater suffering or unintended consequences. History will judge not only the outcome of these protests, but also the wisdom, restraint, and responsibility of those watching from beyond Iran's borders.